So in this part of the series we're going to be doing something a bit more interesting, and we're going to be creating a profile page. Now what this profile page is going to do is it's going to allow you to output any information about a particular user, and that includes your own information as well. So we're going to be adding a link just here called profile or something like that, or we could make this a link, either way doesn't really matter, and that will allow us to view our own user profile. Now at the moment we don't actually have much information about the user that we can change. We don't have, we don't have an uploaded image or like an avatar or things like that. We can still build this page, and then if you want to go in and add more fields to the database and you want the user to specify things like their Facebook profile or something like that, you can do that, and then you can display that on the profile page. So this will give you the jolt to go ahead and actually output this information. So let's go ahead and start. Return to the home page. The first thing we need to do is build up the profile page. I'll explain a bit about how it's going to work, and then we're going to create the ability to access different users' profiles like this. So you can see that my username is Alex. That's how I log into the website. So if I want to access a profile, I just do / whatever page we're on. So it will be www.yourwebsite.com or whatever the domain extension is, / and then the user's name, and this is called a vanity URL, so I'll be referring to it throughout the tutorial as a vanity URL. So we'll be able to access users' profiles like this, which is extremely useful because if you run a site and you say, well, yeah, go access my profile, it's something.com / Alex, it's a lot easier. Anyway, let's go ahead and start to build this up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a page that's going to output this profile information. So funnily enough, I'm going to call this profile.php. I'm going to open up a page like contact and just copy this just so I can get the template there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this as profile.php. Okay, so I'll close contact.php, get rid of this information here, we don't need this now. Back to our page, and we'll try and access profile.php, and there we go, we've got a blank page with our design on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start to write the data out here. Write this page out. Now we need to be able to pass in a user name via get. And the way this is going to work is, let me just pull this down so we can write some code in here. We're going to first of all check if this variable is set. Now I did mention that we were going to do a vanity URL, so a / and username. This is the way we do it on the server side, and then we use an htaccess file to give the ability to pass through a username at the end of the URL. So this page is going to be the page that's going to output the information about the user, so me, and other users as well. So if is set $_get username. If this is equal to true, and empty $_get username is equal to false, do something here. That's essentially saying, is this variable set? So we're not just accessing profile.php on its own, and the username mustn't be empty, so we must be specifying a username. Then we do something in here. Otherwise, I'm going to redirect. Actually, no, I don't have a function redirect. So let's go ahead and check our general functions. No, we don't have a redirect function, so we'll just use a header. So header location index.php and then exit. So if I try and access profile.php without supplying any data, then it will just redirect me. Otherwise, well, what do I want to do? Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this supplied username into a variable within this page, so username. And I'll just go ahead and echo this out for now, just so we can demonstrate how this works, because we're going to be building our htaccess file, which is going to allow us to create our vanity URL. So we're checking that this has been posted, checking that something's actually been passed through, and then we are putting the username that's supplied into this username variable and just outputting it for now. So here, let's go ahead and access profile.php, and then we need a question mark, and we're going to pass through this get variable. So it's username, remember, that corresponds to this value in here, and that's equal to Alex. And there we go. That's outputting whatever I type in up here. Okay. So that's all well and good, but now I need to be able to say, well, I actually want to access this page, but I want to specify the name like that. Now at the moment it says object not found because there's no folder called Alex. What we want to do is rewrite this rule here. So I'm going to create a new file, and this is where our htaccess comes in. I'm not going to go through the htaccess code or the htaccess rules and conditions too much because it's going to confuse and bore a lot of people, but I'll roughly go over it and how this works. So I'm just going to paste this in. Feel free to just pause the video and copy it down because I'm not going to be typing this out, it just takes too long. But essentially I'll try and explain what's going on here. So I'm going to save this inside my LR directory as .htaccess. It's important we don't put anything before this because we want it to save as an htaccess file, and this is how we save htaccess files. So if I press save, this is now in here .htaccess, and you can see it's htaccess file. So make sure you're saving it as .htaccess and nothing else. Okay, so what's happening here is we're turning on the ability to rewrite this URL and pass through different parameters, things like that. Here we're saying anything after the forward slash in our URL bar, we're going to take this value and we're going to append it here. So we've got $1, which corresponds to this variable in LR2 LR /profile.php, which is the profile page that we've just created here, and we're placing this / value into this username get variable. So take a minute to try and understand that. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to try and access this like this. So let's go ahead and get rid of this, type in Alex here. This value here will now be picked up by this rule. It will be passed here the same way that I've just demonstrated. So that's essentially it. That's probably the best explanation I can give. I'm going to hit enter, and there we go. The same thing's happened. So now I can type in Alex1 and it puts it there. So obviously if you're using this in a root directory, so something.com / Alex, you would just have it like that, and you would have profile.php in your root directory. So fiddle around with this and it's relatively straightforward to get the hang of. Okay, so now that we've done that, it's all good. So we can do a / username and then display the information required. So I'm going to get rid of htaccess, we don't need that. Get rid of general, we don't need that. Okay, so what we're going to do? Well, we have a lot of functions that we've already built throughout the series that can deal with processing information, gathering information about a user, and then we can easily output this information. And the way that we've structured this is going to make this page extremely easy to create. So there's not going to be much more code on here than you already see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open, first of all, my init file within core, because we're going to need that to demonstrate, and also my functions, my users functions file, because we've got some functions in here that are going to be useful to us. So what do we need to do here? Well, we have a function inside of users.php called, let's just find it, user data. And user data allows us to pass in a user ID and retrieve information about that user, and we can pass in which fields that we want to gather from the user as well. And remember, we do this in our init.php to allow us to access our information anywhere on whatever page that we're on, and we've already looked at that, so you should be familiar with that. Now we can use this same function but pass in a user that isn't us, that we specify on this profile.php page. So at the moment we're specifying a username just because it looks nicer to the user. Otherwise we'd have to do something like /14, and that doesn't look great. We want to do it by username. So we need to get the user's ID to be able to pass through to this user data function. So I'm going to say user_ID is equal to, Now we need to somehow find the user ID from the username.